Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news and transfer news show on the channel. Fabrizio Romano today said do not rule out one more January signing to Manchester United. They are looking at a creative midfield type signing if one's to become available. And with Gravenberch only having less than 200 minutes in the Bundesliga all season and thriving in the midfield at Ajax last season under Erik Ten Hag, that is my recommendation that Man United should look at. We know we're looking at Kudus, we know we're looking at a few midfielders to potentially bring in January. Man United are broke as hell. We could only get Weghorst on loan from Besiktas. We can't bring in an Enzo Fernandez or De Jong in January. But I suggest we look at Gravenberch. And Fabrizio Romano has suggested potentially one more creative midfield signing to Manchester United in January is on, as well as news, updates, and more coming in on the new ownership situation to Manchester United. It's looking more and more likely, and I hate saying this, that it could be more and more likely that Man United could land in the arms of American owners yet again. And American investment is looking more likely than the Middle East. If I was going to be 100% honest with you, all I'm hearing about United at the moment is there's a few Middle East people in for United, but these Middle East people in for United, like Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. We know Qatar and Saudi Arabia couldn't have a full sale because of UEFA licensing issues because they own other clubs. And then we're hearing Jim Ratcliffe's in, but we're hearing that Jim Ratcliffe's wouldn't be good for United from some sources. And now we're hearing that American owners are the favourites to get United, American owners this, American owners that. And I have to say, it's a little bit worrying, I think, this new owner news. I'm going to get into it in just a second about the people going in for United. But I would say, I think it's a bit worrying. And the reason I think it's a bit worrying is because we're just hearing more and more and more about American owners, friends of the Glazers, sort of kind of being the favourites for United. And I do want to get into that news. But before I get into any of the news, people, I do want to mention that this video is sponsored by the One Football app. There will be a link in the description of the video. There will be a link pinned in the chat to go ahead and check out the One Football app. It's completely free, by the way, and it keeps you up to date with all the football news. There are videos there. This is the Man United section and all the latest United news. Jim Ratcliffe, his plans. Manchester United actually just been offered a chance to get Vlahovic. There's reports coming out from British journalists that Vlahovic would like to join United. And if you're unaware, Juventus actually got hit, I think, with a 15 or 12-point deduction. Juventus were in third in Serie A, and now Juventus are going to be sitting down in like 11th or something in Serie A. They're probably not going to make top four. Vlahovic, 22 years old, fantastic player. Gets goals, gets assists, can take a free kick, can take a penalty, can hit it with his head. Will be perfect for Ten Hag. There's news on him to United. I know Osimhen is Ten Hag's number one target, but I said Vlahovic and Kane could be easy, and reportedly those two players are in for United. So if you do want to stay up to date with the news, make sure you go ahead and check out the One Football app. There'll be a link in the description to go ahead and do that. But I do want to start off with some new owner news, and then I want to talk about potential players that Man United could get in January. And I agree with this comment here by King. I just want new owners that care. And it's a little bit worrying regarding new owners because obviously you get your fake Twitter journalists that will say Dubai is done, or United in Dubai, done deal, 100% agreed. And unfortunately, you get like people that lie a lot on Twitter because they want clicks and followers. And I'm like, why would you pay $10.99 for a blue month, pretend you're a freaking journalist and say De Jong done deal, Dubai done deal and all of that? And a few people were believing that we got Dubai because there was a couple of people making up all over the place that United got Dubai. What we do know about Dubai is they have an interest in United. Ornstein's confirmed that. They've been following the case. But, and there's an expectation that Dubai will make an offer. But Dubai haven't done anything yet. Now, the worrying thing is there's more and more news coming out, and I'm going to get into another story in a second that suggests that America is basically the favourite to get United. A lot of the American companies that are in for Chelsea didn't get Chelsea. A lot of people kind of similar links to the Glazers seem to be the favourites to get United. Now, obviously, Jim Ratcliffe is one of the people we know who's obviously in for United, but it was said by the Telegraph, the list of those who have accepted the confidentiality agreement that unlocks access to United's finance is so far mainly American-based private equity groups. Now, the Times did a report about 3 days ago saying that basically the biggest rivals to Jim Ratcliffe come from the US, and there's a feeling within United but that basically the US seem to be the favourites. Now, 2 weeks, and I want to relay to this, and this might mean nothing, but this is what I've always worried about. I've always said I think it will be Dubai or the US. I don't think it will be Qatar or Saudi Arabia, which we will get into in a second because of financial difficulties doing that in terms of they own other clubs. But I've always said I think it will be Dubai and the US. But the US interest is confirmed. Like the US are the people unlocking the confidentiality agreement, unlocking access to the confidentiality agreement and stuff. We haven't heard that from Dubai. We've heard Dubai would be interested, but they haven't made moves as of yet. They might make one tomorrow. You don't know. As of yet, Dubai haven't made moves that American companies have made. Now, there was a report that came out, and I think it was from a journalist. I think it was Hayden. I forgot what his name is. Hayden Croft. I'm going to say or Hayden Dodge or something like that. It was Hayden something. One of them is a clickbait journalist. One of them is an actual journalist. I can't remember which one it was, but it was the actual journalist that said it. And he basically said, beginning of November, that United are in talks with an American investment fund over the sale of United. 10 days later, the United go public about the sale of the club. Now, this news came out that there was non-disclosure agreements coming on, and United have been talks with this American company about the sale of the club. Came out 10 days before United actually announced that the club was up for full or partial sale. I am worried about the US. My overriding feeling right now is if we don't get anything from Dubai in the coming weeks, because realistically they're going to close it off in February because they want it done by April. If Dubai don't come in the next month, it's Jim Ratcliffe or US. But the feeling is it's those in the US and for United, those who are friends with the Glazers, the finance groups in the US. That is the overriding feeling of the people that seem to be leading the race for United, which for me is just the worst case scenario. For me is not what I want to see whatsoever, if I'm being honest with you. I want owners that care. Now, we might get American owners that care. But because I don't want to stereotype and say all American owners are awful, but it just seems that they're useless. It just seems that they are. If it's Jim and USA, Jim will get it. I strongly believe Ineos have Arabs backing. Potentially. Now, someone's asked about Gravenberch on thumbnail. That's just because I was talking about him on Twitter today, and he would be my ideal midfield loan, because we're going to get into news that United could make a midfield loan, and I would go for Gravenberch, but he's just on the thumbnail because it's my choice, not because we're actually linked with him. I want to clarify that actually quickly. But if it's Jim or the US, I think Jim could get it. Now, US seem to be favourites for United right now, but as I've said, all can change, and we don't want the US. I would rather Jim Ratcliffe than the US, but there's a part of me that don't trust Jim Ratcliffe. I don't know why. There's a part of me, he's not done anything crazy at Nice. A lot of people are sceptical about it. Ineos have the money, but will he spend the money? For me, I just want, as I've said, I just want owners that care. I just want owners that are actually going to invest into United. I just want owners that are interested in United, and I think the problem is that a lot of people being linked to United come, even though the Glazers have been spotted heavily in the Middle East and they're talking with investment companies in the Middle East, a lot of the people showing an interest in United right now are the US, and I'm hoping that we'll get some concrete Middle Eastern interest coming in soon, but you just don't know with the Glazers. Is the stream all right? My laptop just flashed at me twice, which was really weird, so I hope there wasn't a pause or anything weird as well. But again, I'm going to relax on the new ownership thing. I think we'll get an indication on who will be the next ownerships in coming weeks. But there is a bit of a fear about the US. The situation can be summarised as Sir Jim Ratcliffe versus various US consortiums. And what's being said is it's basically at the moment the sale of Man United. They're kind of ruling the Middle East out at the moment, even though I think the Middle East will come in and make offers. And I think at the end of the day, I think Middle East have money, US don't have, and I do think if Man United get a good offer from the Middle East that trump US offers, then we'll go to the Middle East. But the feeling right now and the feeling coming out is basically it's the US versus Jim Ratcliffe. And as people are saying in the comments, you just know Glazers will sell to their American friends. There's rumours that Asia are in for it. There's rumours that the Middle East are in for it. But, there's more and more news coming out about basically the US sort of being favourites for United. And it was said, and I want to get into this actually by the Times, and then I want to get into a story about the Middle East, and then I want to get into the Fabrizio Romano news in just a second. I want to get through as much news as possible, and then I will discuss this with you guys, and then we've got a guest coming on as well. But remember, it was said that the greatest threat to Sir Jim Ratcliffe's ambition to buy United is expected to come from the US, according to sources close to the sale process. However, now the United Muppeteers, do get their own information on a lot of things. United Muppeteers are pretty good, and this is the one thing that makes me positive about this. Is the United Muppeteers are saying is all I can say at the moment so far is, as I've heard, all prospective buyers, including the American funds, would want a fresh start with the debt gone as a condition of the purchase and price. This is a good thing. Now, this is the only thing that I like. We're hearing about American owners. You're thinking Glazer 2.0. Now, you can get American owners that are good. Not all American owners are awful, and not all Arab owners are good. I mean, right now in football, it seems the Arab owners know what they're doing and American owners don't. But, we can't say, oh, just because they're American, they're going to be shit owners. We might get American owners that are really good. We could get Arab owners that are really shit. Like, you just don't know. But what is being heard is that the people that want to buy United want the debt gone. They're not interested in dealing with the debt. And that is a positive thing. That is a real positive thing, that they want to clear the debt. And I think that is, for me, the only real good thing seeming to come out of this as well. Guys, please do smash that like button. Of course, scroll down below. Don't you think Dubai potential owners are best among all? I mean, for me, Dubai seems to be the Middle Eastern country with the most money that have had the longest interest that could afford the full sale. And if I look at what the other Middle Eastern owners have done, they know how to run a football club. So I think Dubai would be the best for United. We know Dubai have an interest, but unlike Dubai haven't made a move yet. Dubai's interest is there, but they've not done what America have done and showed like a genuine interest in United, which for me is the worrying thing. Because the last thing we want is Man United, the Glazers selling to their friends as well. Now, I want to get into some more news because this is, again, a little bit worrying in my opinion. And the reason I'm going to say that is because I think if we settle to Qatar or Saudi Arabia, I think it could only be a minority stake, which would mean the Glazers are still in charge because they own other clubs and there could be UEFA licensing rules. But it was says the Rain Group believe that Middle Eastern Sovereign Wealth Fund will come to the table for United. So right now it's only Jim Ratcliffe from the US, but there is a belief that people from the Middle East are going to make an offer from Manchester United. Now that sounds really positive. But then when you actually continue reading the story and reading about those from the Middle East that are set to make an offer from Manchester United, it was said a Middle East sovereign wealth fund that can remove itself from whatever club it may or may not already own and convince UEFA that they're not in dual ownership issue to answer may come to the table for a bid. And this is the problem. I think, because Qatar have that thing in PSG, like if they went and owned United, we couldn't compete in the Champions League because of UEFA rules and there being two clubs. That is the worrying thing, which would then mean that only they could just invest in the club and give the Glazers a partial stake, which would then result in them giving the money and the Glazers staying, which is not what we want, and not what we want whatsoever. And that is the worrying thing as well, because if the Middle East are going to come into United, they need to basically have proof that they're not related to other Middle Eastern owners. It's not going to be a dual ownership, la-di-la-di-la-di-la-di-la, or we'll get in trouble. Now, Dubai, they don't own anyone. Dubai want to own someone. If it's Saudi Arabia, if it's Qatar, it could be in a situation where the Glazers stay and they invest. However, we know for years that the Glazers have been looking for investment and they haven't got it. The fact that the Glazers have been trying to get an investor in for 3 years, I think it's more and more likely to be a full sale. But the problem is those going in for the full sale seems to be Jim Ratcliffe and the USA, which I do think is quite worrying. Guys, please do smash that like button and, of course, subscribe down below if you're new as well. People saying hang in there, Palace. Is it Newcastle Palace today? Is it Newcastle playing Palace? Or yes, 0-0. 4 more minutes. So you know what? Palace need to get another draw. If Palace take points off us, they have to take points off Newcastle. I will say a win versus Arsenal tomorrow will be absolutely massive, and I am shitting myself for the Arsenal game. And we will talk about the Arsenal lineup and what to do in a second, because I am worried. Like, I am worried. I think if it's at Old Trafford, I fancy United when it's at Emirates. Since Lingard stopped making the Emirates his dance floor, I do sit here as a United fan basically going, you know what? I'm a little bit worried about it. Now, so much transfer news to get in, by the way. So much transfer news. We've got stories on Dusan Vlahovic. We got stories from Fabrizio Romano basically saying that United will be interested in a creative player. There were stories coming out, and again, tier 2, tier 3 source, so not a tier 1 source, but that Dusan Vlahovic would like to play for Erik Ten Hag. Lots of stories and news coming out that Vlahovic would be happy to play under Erik Ten Hag. And as I've said, I think he's a fantastic player. As I've said, I think Juventus might be in a position where they have to sell him because of obviously the issues going on at Juventus. And I do think I think Osimhen would be my first choice. I think he would be my second choice. and Kane would be my third choice. And I would also like this guy because I know how much Arsenal fans wanted him last year. So I think if he ended up at Man United, they will probably pretend it's a shit transfer. And I'd be like, well, you were literally creaming over this guy last year as well. But he's a fantastic player. And I think if we get top 4 and Juventus don't, it does seem more and more likely, I think this transfer's on. I think it's on. I think there'll be competition. But I think out of all the top clubs in Europe, United are the one that kind of need that striker more than anyone else. Liverpool have got Nunes, City have got Haaland, Chelsea have signed every attacker in the world and surely are going to be looking at midfielders. You know, Barcelona have got Lewandowski, you know, Real Madrid have got Benzema. I guess they're aging. Maybe Real Madrid will go in for someone, but I think they just have their eyes all over Mbappe still. I do think United is that club where actually if you're a top striker, you know, United seem most open for it. I think there's a lack of top strikers in the market, which means there's more competition. But I think PSG are going to go all out for Osimhen, and I think that could leave the door open for someone like Dusan Vlahovic, if I'm being 100% honest with you. And I want to get into a story by Fabrizio Romano. I want to get into some news because Fabrizio Romano has basically not ruled out United signing another player in January. You know, a lot of us have been saying, okay, that's the January transfer window over. It looks like United are not going to do anything in January. But Romano said if there are opportunities in the market, United will be looking for a creative signing by the end of the transfer window. Now, he says creative signing, and, you know, what does he mean by that? Does he mean a winger? You know, because we've got Sancho coming back, Garnacho's doing well. I think Palestri's got a chance. Like, I do think we need attacking reinforcement, but I would still say striker over a winger because Martial, guess what, people? Martial is not fit for the for the Arsenal game. Shock. I swear this guy can't stay fit. Like, I think we need a creative signing. I also think we should have brought João Felix in because he can cover all bases. You know, and I think Weghorst, you know, I don't think he suits the Arsenal game. I think Weghorst is more suited to low blocks than when we would potentially be counter-attacking. And Romano's saying creative signing, so is that a midfielder? Is that an attacker? I still think we're probably edging towards attacker. But then I guess Sancho's about to come back. Does he mean a Cam with Donny out? Does he mean someone to give back up to Bruno? We know we're interested in Kudus. Now, I think United should be looking at midfielders with the lack of depth. And I've been talking a lot about Gravenberch to United. Like, could we get this guy on loan? There, we've got someone there because I don't trust McTominay. And, you know, Donny's injured. But I think Romano's I would quite like to see what profile we're looking at. But he's basically saying a creative signing, saying if there's opportunities, United will look for one. Surely Bayern could give us Gravenberch on loan if they're not going to play him. And I think they'd sign Lema, although I think Lema's coming in the summer. Surely there's an opportunity there, in my opinion. And that's my thought process as well. I think, you know, for me, I would be going, okay, we need a midfielder. There's someone we could get for cheap. Now, I tell you who's quite good. Now, I don't know if he's United ready, but I remember if you subscribed to me in the summer, you'll remember me talking about this guy, and he was linked to United, and United sent scouts to watch him. But Matt O'Reilly, Celtic midfielder, came from MK Dons, I believe, Celtic midfielder, been looking very good. I'm not going to lie, I don't watch much of the Scottish League, but he has been looking good for them. Midfielder was linked to us in the summer. I think, like, long term, he's got a bit of a De Jong profile in there, and we know that Ten Hag would like that. But then I'm like, okay, like, he's better than Sedan Iqbal because he has first team experience playing in the Scottish League, where Sedan Iqbal doesn't have a lot of experience. But I'm thinking, you know, would it be worth just giving Sedan Iqbal a go? I do think this Matt O'Reilly guy is one for the future, though, 100%. And I do think we need another midfielder. I think we need another attacker. I think we need another midfielder. I think, realistically, we need Osimhen, Vlahovic, and we need an Enzo Fernandez. That's not realistic. But Romano is saying if there's an opportunity in the market, United will look at creative signing. So if there's someone cheap, like Gravenberch on loan, I know it isn't ideally a creative signing, but in a position of need, surely United should go then. I think United should inquire because I think Bayern, and that's why I put him in the thumbnail. Not like I generally think that we could be able to get this guy. Like, he'd want to come and work under Ten Hag. He's not playing at Bayern. Like, why doesn't Bayern just give him to us for 6 months, get his confidence back, and then they use him next season when he's a year older? Because Bayern are just bringing in midfielder after midfielder after midfielder. And this guy was thriving under Ten Hag, and he might get some game time at United with Donny injured and that. And Romano's saying, you know, what are the opportunities in the market? Like, I can't think of any clear opportunities in the market and any clear players we can bring in and sign. But, like, is there anyone let me know in the comments, is there anyone who maybe a player that could be really cheap, like under 10 million, or available on loan in the midfield or in a creative attacker that you think United could bring in as well? Because I'm kind of stuck on that as well. Someone's saying sell Martial is injury prone. How can you build a future with him? Look, I think I agree long term, but we've got no one. Like, we need Martial tomorrow. Like I was saying yesterday, I think Martial must start in the Arsenal game if fit, because it's not a game for Weghorst, and Martial's good in these big games, but he's not reliable, and that's the frustration with Martial again. He's just not reliable. Like, he can't stay fit for anything, and this is what really frustrates me. Cheers, same for the super chat. Are you ready for Trossard? Were you ready for Weghorst and Saliba, and Gabriel will handle him? I don't know if Weghorst will start, to be fair. I don't think it's his kind of game. And look, same. Am I ready for Trossard? Yeah, I'm fine with our defence. I'm worried about midfield because there's no Casemiro this game. And it's Thomas Partey versus McFred. I'll be honest, Zane, I'll give you this. I'm a bit worried because Thomas Partey, Odegaard, and Xhaka versus McFred and Eriksen, Arsenal are going to dominate the midfield. For me, if United take their chances, we can win the game. I think Arsenal have more possession. I'm worried about the midfield. I'm not worried about our defence. I'm not worried about your attack. I'm worried about the midfield. And obviously, if you dominate the midfield, your attack are going to have more chances. But I do have trust in our defence. I do rate our defence. But again, I guess our defence, about Casemiro's protection, could be a little bit vulnerable. We conceded 6 to City when we last played McTominay and Fred. And then obviously you conceded 4 to Brentford. I'm worried about the midfield. I'm not worried about Trossard. You should maybe be worried about Rashford. I think Arsenal should watch out for Rashford. But I think midfield, I'm a bit worried about the midfield. I will give you that, to be honest. I mean, that is the one area I'm worried about tomorrow. And I know we beat Arsenal last time, but it was McTominay versus Vieira. Was it, or Lokonga or someone? Like, Partey's a good player. You know, Partey is an absolutely unreal player, as much as it kills me to say it. So, not better than Casemiro. Them Arsenal fans saying Partey is better than Casemiro, like, shut up. Like, really? Like, Partey's a good player. He's just as important to your side as Casemiro is for us. But there's no way in hell Thomas Partey is better than Casemiro. Like, you know, they're both having a brilliant season. Yeah, Arsenal top of the league, but, you know, Arsenal have had 3 seasons under Arteta. Casemiro's gone into a United side that lost 4-0 to Brentford and has made them look decent. That's conceded 6 to City, made them look decent. Longevity, Casemiro's done it all at Real Madrid, and Real Madrid fans are crying for him back. Like, I don't understand, you know, basically, you know, the Arsenal fans trying to think Casemiro Partey's a debate. They're both equally important for their side, but Casemiro's a level above, like, without a doubt. And unfortunately, Partey is a level above McTominay. Partey's many levels above McTominay. I do worry about the game in that sense. A lot of people say Martinez should be number 6. I did a video yesterday, and I spoke about Lisandro Martinez, and I spoke about what we could do in midfield. Now, Palace Newcastle 0-0 was a good result for us, and we have 400 people watching, so do smash the like button, and of course check out the OneFootball app, link in the description, link in the pinned chat as well. But what I will say is, what will we do in midfield? Because we could do something interesting. We could do something like Lisandro Martinez, Fred, and then we could do Eriksen potentially. Like, there's so many ways United could line up. It could be McTominay, Eriksen, Bruno, which is what we did last time versus Arsenal. It could be McTominay, Fred, Eriksen, Bruno on the right. It could even be Lisandro Martinez plays in the midfield with McTominay and Fred, or Lisandro Martinez plays in the midfield with Eriksen and Bruno, or Lisandro Martinez plays in the midfield with Fred and Eriksen, or Fred and Bruno. You know, it's an interesting one. I think for me, I would play Rashford striker, because I don't think this is a game for Weghorst. I'd play Garnacho on the left. I'd even think of playing Pellistri on the right, because I think he could be more suited to this than Anthony, because I don't think we're going to have much of the ball, especially it being at the Emirates. And I think that he could do a little bit more than Anthony in that sense. Obviously, we've only seen him play against Charlton. And then I would probably go Bruno in the middle, because I think Bruno's more impactful in the middle. And then I would probably go Lisandro and maybe Fred behind Bruno. But I don't want to. We've not seen Lisandro Martinez play DM for 2 years. Is Arsenal the game to risk it? Like, McTominay did beat Arsenal last time. I guess they didn't have Partey, they had Lokonga. Is it really worth risking him in a game like this? That is the real question as well. Is this the kind of game where you can risk Lisandro Martinez in midfield? Because I know loads of people say, oh, let's get Lisandro Martinez in midfield, this, Lisandro Martinez in midfield, that. And I get that. But he's not played in midfield for a while. And it's like, McTominay's not been good in midfield for a while, but yeah, he's not played in midfield for a while, and it would be a massive risk. But at the end of the day, I do trust Ten Hag. I do trust Erik Ten Hag. I do think Erik Ten Hag is a fantastic manager, and whatever decision Erik Ten Hag makes, I think will be the right decision. But I am scared. I am scared because yes, we beat Arsenal last time without Casemiro, but they didn't have Partey. They didn't have a brilliant midfield, and I think I trust our defence. I can't trust our attack other than Rashford because they're not scoring, and I can't trust the midfield without Casemiro. So I've always said I think Lissandro, you could try him in midfield, but I think he's our best centre back on his day. And do you want to play him out of position? Now, Luke Shaw left centre back worked versus Man City. It worked really well, Luke Shaw left centre back versus Man City, and you could maybe play Lissandro in midfield. But could we even do five at the back? Could you know? I don't think Ten Hag will. I don't think he's a five at the back kind of guy. But could United almost do Malacia left back, Luke Shaw left centre back, Varane centre back, and Lissandro centre back with Wan-Bissaka on the right because Dalot's out again with Martial, and then maybe a midfield two of Eriksen, Fred, which might get dominated because that's what happened versus Brentford, and then maybe a front three of Bruno on the right, Rashford up top and Garnacho on the left. Could we see something like that? I mean, I'm not a five at the back person, but you know, whatever Ten Hag does, I do trust Ten Hag. But people, we've got a guest joining the stream. We've got Faz from Planet Faz. How are you doing?
Hi, Alice. How you doing? I'm all right. Thank you for having me today. Hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you feeling about the Arsenal game? We're just talking about what to do in midfield for the Arsenal game.
You know what? I'm very much confident. I'm not overly confident, but I'm confident. I believe in Ten Hag what he's done so far. I believe in what the players have shown so far. You know, coming leaps and bounds. And a lot of these players, we wanted their contracts gone. We wanted these guys out of the club, and now they're here. They're performing. So I still think we can get a result. Could we get a win? It's possibility. It's possibility, but I would be happy with the draw as well.
Yeah, I think I would take a draw, especially it being at the Emirates. Like when it's at Old Trafford, I back United. When it's at the Emirates, I do almost back Arsenal because we haven't obviously won at the Emirates since, you know, Lingard doing all the dancing 2017.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. And I think I do look at the game and I go, no Casemiro, and they're going to have Party back for this game. I'm worried about the midfield. And we were just talking about, like, who do you play in midfield? Do you go McTominay Eriksen, McTominay Fred Eriksen? Like, what would you think for midfield?
I think for me, I would put on Fred, considering how he's been performing so far. He's been having more positive impacts in a game than McTominay has. McTominay had his little spell at the start of the season where people were absurdly comparing his performance to Casemiro being benched. But you know what? You know what? I think Fred can do a job. He's shown that against Kevin De Bruyne, even though, let's be honest, Kevin De Bruyne did get an assist, and Fred was nowhere to be seen when that assist came. But throughout the majority of the match, Fred did hold it down. He did do
Yeah.
quite a bit of damage to that Man City midfield, and you know, Ten Hag has shown bits and bats about that midfield having players come in and out in a rotational system where nobody's sitting all the time in the bench. And these players, even if they're playing half a game here, a little bit there, they're still seeing games through. It's a big game tomorrow in terms of trusting these players now. Like, you know, these situations, Alice, is going to happen in the season where players are
Yeah.
injured, where players are missing the odd game because of suspension. Let's not forget Lisandro Martinez, Barcelona. He's gonna
Yeah.
miss the first. He's gonna miss the first leg as well. It's okay. These things happen. And now is the time to go and count on Fred. I don't know to see McFred. I'll be honest. I still think McTominay is better coming off the bench, you know, so far this season.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
still think Eriksen is needed for that, you know, those passes from the deep. Who's going to create those passes? Who's going to
Yeah.
carry the ball a little bit forward and find the forward plays? It has to be Eriksen. So I still trust Fred, in all honesty.
Yeah, I'm with you. I trust Fred a lot more than McTominay. I think Fred's a lot better. My only fear is I think Fred is when he plays on his own is always good. I think when Fred plays with McTominay and then we get McFred together, they don't work. So I don't want to see McFred But my thought process is when we play Fred and Eriksen, I think when they last started in the Premier League was Brentford 4-0. Obviously, we've changed a lot since then. Fred's got a lot better. Eriksen's got a lot better since then. But playing a possession-based team with the lack of, I don't think Arsenal are overly physical in midfield, but they've got Thomas Partey. My worry is, we know that Eriksen and McTominay beat Arsenal, but that again was McTominay's form, and I think Fred deserves to start with McTominay. But will Fred and Eriksen get bullied? Do we need something else? I was like, a lot of people talk about Lissandro Martin as a midfield. The Luke Shaw centre back experiment's kind of working. Could we try Martin as the DM experiment? And my thought process is, okay, if we were playing like Southampton, I could try out the Martin as DM experiment because it's
Correct. Yeah,
Southampton.
I agree.
But I think with Arsenal, it's like I don't completely trust McTominay, but we just don't know what to expect at all if Martinez plays DM. Is Arsenal too much of a risk for it, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. You don't want to give straight passes away to Arsenal. That's the last thing you want to do, especially this season, the way they've been. On top of that, Arsenal are the ones that are gaining, meaning they have players playing in form continuously. They have gained Partey's form, whereas we have just lost Casemiro. You don't want to be taking a huge risk. But then again, Ten Hag does take risks. He is, he does have faith in his players. Alice, I found this season, I can never predict his lineup. Never. I never know what this man is going to do. He's always full of mind games and surprises. I mean, yeah, now Martial and Dalot having travel, so you kind of know who's going to perform at the fullback and up front. But in terms of Martinez and DM, I think going off what he said, in his Ajax time, that Blind and Martinez can't play a CDM position. Martinez played quite a bit of the CDM position at the start of his season in Ajax. And since then, he said he can't. I don't think he will. He needs that, constant legs, especially if you're going to play Eriksen. You need someone who's going to be chasing the ball and he's going to be chasing shadows of the players. And nobody can do that better than Fred at this moment, without Casemiro at this moment. And then McTominay can see it through once Eriksen comes off in the second half. You don't want to let Arsenal get comfortable on the ball and settle on the ball. That's something you don't want to do. But then you don't want to be playing possession-based football with them as well. So it's going to be very tactical. It has to be fast-paced. Win the ball back, counter them, get a goal, and then sit back down again.
Yeah, I feel. Would you even look at changing formation? Maybe trying something different, like 4 in midfield or 5 at the back?
I wouldn't play 5 at the back. That's something I wouldn't do. No. I'd still, you've seen how Ten Hag does his attacking formation when he's really trying to suffocate the opposition, where he floods their final quarter of the opposition side of the pitch. I don't think you're going to see that this particular game. I think what you are going to see is, because Casemiro's not there, you would probably see Eriksen and Fred be a lot more deeper in our own half, trying to make sure Varane and Martinez is protected a bit more. Not that they can't do their own job, Varane and Martinez, they're fully capable of doing. But I think you will see us be a lot more deeper and trying to find and break their press via aerial ball rather than putting it on the floor. I think that's what they'll try and do. Let's be honest. Ben White versus Rashford and Zinchenko versus Antony, I kind of, I don't think Ben White is an upper echelon fullback, and I don't really rate Zinchenko in terms of, he can go, on a foot race with Antony. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So if we look to, maybe win the ball back from, straight passes or second balls, and then put the ball over to Rashford and Antony, we can catch them in the break. And I think that's what we will see. But I don't know about this 5 at the back stuff, in all honesty. I'm not sure about it.
I don't like 5 at the back, and it never really seems to work, because as soon as you go 1-0 down, I feel like that's the game plan kind of gone with 5 at the back. My fear is just the midfield. Like, I think I trust our back 4, Varane, Martinez, Shaw, Wan-Bissaka will play because Dalot's out. Like, I trust Rashford. Antony has a goal in him. My only fear is obviously Martial, shock, is out injured. I don't think, and I've been saying this is the game for Weghorst. I think it's a game where we need to break enough pace. And I prefer Rashford on the left wing to striker. I don't really like Rashford as striker because he doesn't hold up the ball well. But a part of me would maybe think about Garnacho on the left versus Ben White, and maybe Martial striker, Antony on the right, to maybe get at Arsenal. Because I think my thought process is the way we win this is, we need McTominay, Fred, whoever plays, to put in one of the best performances of their life. and get it to the attack and counter them. Like, what's your thought for attack with Martial out? What's your thought for like a front three?
I think it has to be Vout at the end of the day, because who else? I know Pace isn't there, and Vout can still do a great link up play job. He can still hold up the play well. You saw Bruno's goal in the last game came from because of Vout taking two players with him. And one thing Vout will do is, yeah, he's not fast, but he'll constantly be there trying to make the defender's life hard. Gabriel and
Yeah,
Saliba's. Is he gonna? Let's be honest. We can't beat around the bush and lie. He's not gonna be the striker that Gabriel and Saliba are gonna look at and think, you know what, this guy, I need to make sure I concentrate on him 24/7. It's not gonna be the case. He's not the fastest. He's not the most clinical. He's not the most scariest striker in the market right now. So one thing that he can do is he can just pull up a few defenders with him and make that space for the Anthony and make that space for Rashford. It's a big game for Anthony. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you know, but I'm a huge fan of Anthony. But I do want him to put his burners on and take on Zinchenko, because Zinchenko isn't fast, and we know how Arteta is going to do this. He's going to make his fullbacks be wingers in this game. He's going to want his fullback to go really high up on the pitch and be inverted at times, overlap at times. And those are exact moments when you need Anthony and Rashford, especially Anthony, to not slow the game down. If they receive the ball, go for it. Don't come back, basically.
Yeah, I do like Anthony. I think he gets far too much stick. He scored a goal every other start. He's 22. He's in a new league. I think that once Ten Hag gets more players and starts playing more Ajax football, I think that he will slot in. I actually think that Anthony, we're not doing the patterns of play that he's probably used to at Ajax and all that. And I think Anthony gets far too much stick. But I think the frustrating thing is Anthony is I see him get the ball and I'm like, run, take him on, and he slows it down, or like he's a little bit predictable because he's always going to come on his left foot. He's, that left foot is brilliant, that right foot not so brilliant. Like, I think with Anthony is I would start him. I think I would start him just because he has a goal in him. Ten Hag want for a reason. I think there's a good player there. I think he's a threat, but I think I really need him to run at people, take them on. I'm getting a bit. He was reminding me of Sancho I do really like Sancho as well, but I remember Sancho went for a period where he was just getting the ball and passing it back. And what I like about Rashford, what I like about Garnacho is they always run at people and take them on. And I think that Arsenal game we're going to need that. And for me, I believe that Anthony would be a good signing. I think that he's been massively over-criticised. I think this fan base is massively overreacting. We've been saying, everyone's saying, oh, he's a flop, and it's not even been here 4 months. Been here 4 months or something. I think the fan base is massively overreacting. But how do you feel about Anthony sort of long term? Are you a bit like me? That's just the hate is just overreaction.
I'm a huge fan of Anthony. I'm a big fanboy of Anthony. He's had an amazing start. His stats has been better than Sancho's start in the last 2 years. Let's be honest. There's no point beating around the bush. There's no point shying away from this. It's factual information. His stats are better than Sancho's as it stands. Sancho's had a brilliant start to the season in terms of stats wise, but then it was scary the way he dipped in form. One thing about Anthony that I can tell you is I sit in Old Trafford right behind Ten Hag. My seat is right behind Ten Hag. I see Ten Hag how he deals with Garnacho, and I see how he deals with Rashford. I see how he deals with Dalot and Anthony. And I'll be honest with you, this thing about people wanting Anthony to be direct, I've not seen Ten Hag instruct him when he's slowing the game down, like, why are you slowing the game down? I can hear him. I can hear Ten Hag. I can hear what information is given to Casemiro. If people check my Twitter, or if you see it, you see how close I sit to Ten Hag and Benny McCarthy. And I can hear them that a lot of the times he's asking Dalot or Bissaka in this instance to go right up where Anthony is and help him out. And then the opposite side, he's asking Garnacho to, burn the fullbacks. I don't think he's asking his wingers to play both similar styles, both wingers be direct. You see at certain times he swaps with Rashford as well. And he changes up the style of play on each of the fullbacks. I think it's more so Ten Hag. And and I know, right? This is his guy. He brought him in. He knew he wanted him. He could have said, you know what? I have 100 million to burn. I'm going to go for someone else. He didn't. He said, I want him for 100 million. And if anybody wants anything from this guy, what he's doing, I think Ten Hag does, because when he came into the league, he was smoking Tottenham, if you don't remember. He smoked up Tottenham. He was flooring 2-3 players. Arsenal game, he was smoking 2, 3 players. People said he's doing this, he's doing that. And I think that's got onto him. I'll be honest with you. Old Trafford
Yeah,
crowd,
the
especially,
confidence.
are a very they're a very, with all due respect, old school crowd. They want right-footed right wingers, left-footed
Mm.
left wingers, and you're not getting that. This is not Ten Hag ball. So I think what you're going to see as the season goes on is he's going to cut in on his left more, and he's going to find line-breaking passes to Vout. He's going to find crosses with his left foot to Vout. That's what you're going to see. And if and when Dallo comes back, you're going to see Dallo overlap a lot more. Don't forget, Dallo got us a few assists as well when he was overlapping and Anthony was playing with him. And I think he does a great job. I have no problems with him. I just think he just needs to at times do a little bit more in beating his man. But his stats are there. I can't ask for much.
Yeah, like he's getting the goals on like Sancho, and I think it's weird how like with Sancho, and I do really like Sancho. I saw it done at the Bundesliga. I think tonight we'll get back to space, but it's like the difference in energy that Sancho got at this period last year was like, all right, let's give Sancho time, like a year to settle in. But that the difference in energy with Anthony, so like everyone's like Anthony's crap, and like, but Sancho got a completely different energy to Anthony, and I do think that this fan base needs to calm down Anthony. I think they're knocking confidence, and it was interesting what you said about Ten Hag instructing, Delo and Wan-Bissaka to help Anthony out, because I've said this with Anthony, I watched a few, as soon as I knew Ten Hag was coming in, I did sit and watch a lot of Ajax, and I really liked Anthony at Ajax. The Anthony I saw at Ajax, I was like, I want this guy at United. Like, I was really happy when we signed him. But like the Anthony at Ajax he was very involved with the team. He was very much 1-2s, driving in, driving out, really, really heavily involved with the team, linking up with the right backs, linking up with the Ajax players. And I think with Anthony, he like when Ten Hag starts playing Ten Hag ball, because Ten Hag's playing the way he wants to play, but he can't play exactly how he wants to play until he gets maybe a Frankie de Jong type profile in, and that's Sebastian Haller long-term striker profile in, and all of until he gets his full team. He still needs 3-4 signings more to get his full team to be playing kind of like how he did at Ajax. But I do think with Anthony, it might be the case of this season he'll be okay. I think he's been okay. I don't think he's been amazing, but I don't think he's been bad. I think people saying he's been bad, I think it's silly. But I think next season is when we're going to start to see maybe Anthony probably like maybe hit new heights. He's still had a year to settle in. We'll be playing a bit more Ten Hag way and all of that. And I feel like that's my thought process on Anthony. But I also think once we have a long-term striker, an actual front three and all of that as well, and we're just more fitting as a squad, he just links up the players to be better. And obviously, we've been linked to a lot of strikers at the moment. There's Harry Kane, who seems open to join United, would be, 1 year left on his contract. We'd have to deal with Levy, but it seems like a deal that can do. Victor Osimhen, which would be my first choice, but I think it would be the hardest, like most expensive. Benjamin Sesko, who I don't know a lot about, but a lot of people highly rate him. And then there's obviously Vlahovic of Juventus, that with Juventus points deduction seems more likely. Is there a striker on your mind that you're like, United need to go all out for him?
We cannot get Harry Kane. This fetish around getting 30-year-olds is getting annoying on my nerves. Honestly, I'm tired of 30-year-olds. We need to go and look for the future. Harry Kane is a fantastic player, no doubt about it. But let's be honest, I need a player that will really be a solid striker who will make goals out of thin air. And the person who does that is Victor Osimhen. Is the only guy that I can think of who's really, monstrous when it comes with his press. He's monstrous when it comes to scoring goals. He's so annoying for a defender, and that's what I want. Even Vlahovic, if Man United are a serious football club and they want to be a serious football club, at the moment they are not, because they have the Glazers. But if and when, God willing, we get new owners, it has to be Vlahovic and Osimhen. It cannot be Harry Kane. Harry Kane, yes, okay, he's got his top scorer record that he's chasing. He scores goals in Tottenham, and people are like, what would he do if he went to another club, etc., etc. But at 30 years old, he turns 30 next year. At 30 years old, this is not the future for Manchester United. We want players that will hit their prime with Manchester United, meaning the Osimhens, meaning the Vlahovic. I would even go for a Gonçalo Ramos. A Gonçalo Ramos would be fantastic for Manchester United. The player links up so well, and in tight spaces, he again creates goals out of thin air. Harry Kane, listen, you have that Tottenham background in you, and I don't want to go down that route, in all honesty. And this Premier League proven thing, I don't believe in as well, for the people that want to say that.
It's a difficult one because I'm with you on age. I like if we can get Victor Osimhen or if we can get Vlahovic, they are my first two, without a doubt. Young, good scorers. I can see them suiting Ten Hag's system. I think with Osimhen as well, I think he has so much to his game that I really like. I've really enjoyed watching Napoli this season. I'm not totally against Harry Kane as long as we're not playing a ridiculous price because I kind of look at Casemiro. I don't want us getting 30-year-old signings. As I've said, he would be my third choice, Kane, for a reason. I want to get one of the other two that I've just mentioned. But I do look at Casemiro, obviously what he's done. But you're right. It's like, I think Kane wouldn't be an awful signing as long as we don't pay something stupid for a 30-year-old that's injury prone. I think you could have that Casemiro like impact. I do think he would do well under Ten Hag. I think he links up play. I think he's a good passer and all of that. And I think, if we got Kane, would I be mad? No. But I don't think Kane should be our number one target. I think we should be going all out for Osimhen or Vlahovic. And if that just doesn't work because PSG and other clubs are interested, then potentially Kane. But I do agree with you. I think, you're pretty much right with that. But I wouldn't, but I'm probably one of the few United fans that's actually, I'm okay with Harry Kane. But I do not like
the thing is,
old strikers.
it's an okay signing, Alice. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, go on. But if you're paying 85, you might as well play 15 more and get Osimhen.
Oh,
You might as well, if you're gonna pay 85, you might as well negotiate with Juventus, who are absolutely in dire need of rescuing. That listen, let's figure out a deal. We want your striker. Because let me be honest with you, there are a few clubs I can name you who would love to go and attack and raid Juventus right now. Real Madrid being one of them. They would love to go and get a striker. They need a striker, let's not forget. And why shouldn't we be in their first dips and get Vlahovic? But that's if Manchester United do clever business, and we don't really do clever business. It's this curse that we have with these strikers.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I would not pay any more than 60 million for Kane. I mean, I think, with Levy, you're going to have to pay a ridiculous price tag, I think, with his age and all that. Like, I wouldn't pay 60 million for Kane. And with Vlahovic being around probably 60 million, Juventus not getting top four, financial crisis, I think it depends on competition. But I do think as well, because he's not in the Premier League, I always find if you sign someone from the Premier League, their price tag's like doubled. Like you see, like Brighton players like Cucurella going for crazy money. Declan Rice has been quoted 100 million. There's this Premier League thing. Whereas I do think maybe, Vlahovic, value for money, he's probably the best option depending on what Juventus will do because they obviously paid a bit of money for him. But I do really like him as well. And would you also look at midfielders as well? Because obviously it seems to be striker and midfielder. And there's obviously Enzo Fernandez, De Jong and all of that, which were pricey and that. Have you got a midfielder in mind that you'd go for as well?
Enzo Fernandez, I'm glad the deal fell through and it didn't go. He didn't go to a new club. I think Enzo Fernandez is one of the most fantastic midfielders that money could buy you right now. And I will be honest, I know a lot of people might say Frankie de Jong is off and let's not go for Frankie de Jong. But you know what, Alice, look at it this way. If we beat Barcelona and Barcelona don't get a European trophy, they are in very, very big trouble. Part of their sponsorships and part of their dealings was that they get a European trophy and also they get La Liga. La Liga is absolutely dead and finished. Let's be honest. They're fully finished. There's no players that want to stay in La Liga. But I wouldn't mind going and getting a Frankie de Jong again and chasing that deal again, because I feel like maybe this summer we could make it happen. But it all comes down to if Manchester United owners stay the current and will they pay the price for Frankie de Jong. But I would go hellbent on Enzo Fernandez for sure. I absolutely love Enzo Fernandez.
My two dream signings is either De Jong or Enzo Fernandez. I like one of those at United. I think they just fit in absolutely perfectly. Then with Osimhen or Vlahovic, they're the two signings we need. And there's obviously a big question over new ownership. One day we get people saying Dubai this, the next day we get Middle East this and that. And at the moment, there's a lot of talk about US investors. Reports come out today saying it's Jim Ratcliffe and a load of people in the US sort of challenging for it. Reports saying that the US are the favourites and all that to, sort of go in for United. A lot of US investment companies, similar people in, for Chelsea. Like, what is your thoughts on new owners? Because are you worried about US? There's a lot of people worried that it could be the US. Will it be Glazers 2.0? Like, will they keep the board? Like, is there someone you particularly want as owners?
Of course, no, at this time and moment, I don't think there is any football fan, especially in the Premier League, that would want American owners.
Mm.
Todd Bowley is buying his way into making his. Oh, big up Logan. Logan is like that. Todd Bowley is buying his way into making his fans love him. Um, I don't want American owners simply because of the PTSD, of course. I think it is fair to ask for the oil and the Qatari and the Middle Eastern money simply because, Alex, how much money we have to spend. I don't even look at buying of the club. I look at everything in behind, which is the infrastructure, the stadium, the training,
Yeah.
the women's, the youth, all of the infrastructure, the debt that is there as well. All of that alone is billions and billions of pounds, let alone buying the club. I look at that, and who has the money to go and pay that? Because let's be honest, Chelsea, when Todd inherited Chelsea, he didn't have all of this headache. He didn't.
Yeah.
He just bought the club, and he has a clause where he has to spend 1.5 billion into the club, and that's what he's doing. He's spending 500 million in his first window that he can. He's going and filling his quota. But Manchester United, their quota would be a new stadium. Their quota would be training ground, debt, and etc. etc. So for me, it has to be someone who has serious money, and I'm talking 10 billion, boom, gone out of your bank account. That's it. 10, forget about 10 billion, 5 billion for the club and 5 billion for new infrastructure,
Yeah.
whatever. And then there's players. We need to recycle, Alex. We need to sell some players. Let's be honest. We need to sell some, and we need a new Ten Hag 6 or 7 players, at least four to five players as well. So there's that
Yeah.
as stuff. People say new owners and Mbappe and all of this stuff. So I would like the Middle Eastern, in all honesty.
I agree. Like, I feel like they're like the old stereotype that American owners are awful and Middle Eastern owners seem to care and they seem to know what they're doing, because that's what we're seeing at the moment. Like, we could get American owners and they could be really good and they could really care about the club, but we're just so used to crap American owners and seeing Middle East owners know what they're doing. And I've always said this with United is I think the Glazers will give it to whoever's going to give them the most money at the end of the day. All they care about is money. Obviously it seems with being like American companies are the ones registering interest in Jim Ratcliffe, but there is an expectation for the Middle East to go in. There's rumours of Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. Right now, people are saying, US investors are the biggest rivals, la la la, connections to Glazers, la di la di la. And the last thing I want is anyone like the Glazers. For me, I think we need someone with a load of money because, as you said, we need new stadium, we need new infrastructure, we need new everything. Like, they've let this club rot to its core because they've neglected this club for like 20 years almost. That we're just so outdated. There's all the debt that comes along with it, and you're going to have to be very rich to be able to afford to do that. But also, we need a massive overhaul on the inside. Like, Merton needs to go, Arnold needs to go. Like, I'm watching Brighton today and I'm thinking, does Brighton have loads of money? No. But Brighton
Nope.
know how to get people in and sell people and function as a club. And that's something, and we were just talking about this a second ago, that we can't figure out how to do. We can't figure out how to sign or sell players in reasonable time.
I don't know why we have this sentiment. Manchester United fans have this sentiment. They want to hold on to every player like it's their family member who's playing for Manchester United. Every youth player, every senior player, we want to hold on to. I'm guilty of that as well. I'm guilty of some players, but we need to learn to recycle. We need to learn, okay, thank you very much for the 5-6 years you've given. See you later. Unless you are performing at the highest level. What happens with us is a player gives us nothing. It's like a toxic relationship. They don't give you anything for 5 years, and then all of a sudden, randomly, they start loving you and giving you everything you want. And you think,
Yeah.
right, you know what? Go on. I'll stay another 3 years. Here you go. Here's the contract. Luke Shaw's been fantastic. I have Luke Shaw signed share. I love Luke Shaw. But let's be honest, when are we going to move forward? What's the future? Bissaka, what's the future? Same with, let's say, Ericsson. We love Ericsson, but he's on a free. Is he the future for Manchester United? He's not the future. Martial, I'm not even gonna get into Martial. People will start thinking
about him in the chat.
Oh, yeah. We need to start letting some of these players go.
I agree. Like, I've been asked for Martial C. I'm not Martial C. I like Martial, but he frustrates me because he's so inconsistent, he's so unreliable. Like, I know what Martial's capable of when he's in form. We've seen it, but we've seen Martial with one good season under Van Gaal, one good season under Ollie, and like you say, he kind of drops off. And we have these false promises with Martial and a lot of United players, I think. And for me, the thing that frustrates me is like, okay, there's clubs interested in Maguire, there's clubs interested in McTominay. We should get rid of them in the summer because we know they're not good enough to take United to title. We need them probably right now for depth, because especially McTominay, we're going to need him for depth because Donny's out, Eriksen can't play every game. That means we're relying on Fred and Casemiro to be fit every week. Like, we need them now for depth.
Correct.
But my thought process is in the summer, Maguire gone, Dean Henderson, I think you might as well get rid of him as well. He doesn't want to be here. McTominay gone, that's going to raise you some funds. Bailly, Telles, they need to go. Potentially, I know Wan-Bissaka's been good, but if he's not in Ten Hag's plan and he can bring someone better in, you get rid of Bissaka. You potentially look at getting rid of Martial because we're going to bring a striker in. We need someone to be capable of a big clear out. And what I want is not just new owners with money, but new owners with brain. Like Todd Boehly, he's got the money, but I'm looking at Todd Boehly and I'm like, well, you've just brought your fifth winger. Like, I think Chelsea, and I'm glad they didn't get Enzo Fernandez, but I think Mudryk looked brilliant today, but I think Enzo Fernandez is midfield what Chelsea need. And I think United did that last season. You know, we needed a midfielder last season, and we went and brought Sancho, Varane, and Ronaldo, which I was happy with all of the signings, but I was like, we needed a DM. Fred, the midfield, cost us. Ten Hag's come and had a massive impact, but I think Casemiro and Eriksen, you know, if Ten Hag was with McFred, I don't think we'd be doing what we were doing now. And I think, you know, we need owners with money, but we also need them to have some competence. Like, you know, that kind of model. I always talk about Brighton, what they're doing. Like Moises Caicedo, we were linked to him in January, about two years ago, 4 million. And I thought, why not? 4 million for DM, one for the future. Why are we stalling over a 4 million transfer? Like, what are we refusing to spend 4 million? I thought it was mad. Goes to Brighton. I said, watch this guy be really good. Watch us in 2 years want him. We could be getting him for 50, 60 million now. And it's like, we need to be looking at them. Julian Alvarez has gone to City. Enzo Fernandez was quoted 15 million in the summer. Ragnick suggested him. United passed out. Like, if we had good people involved, we could have been wanting Enzo Fernandez for 15 million and Moises Caicedo for 4 million. That's under 20 million. Those two youngsters, they would be perfect. You know,
I don't know why Manchester United hierarchy are so scared of taking a little bit of risk. And they're hesitant. Hesitation cost us 77 million this summer because we overpaid for Martinez and Anthony, when we shouldn't be hesitating, because they didn't know what they're going to do with the Frankie de Jong situation. And Frankie de Jong, in all honesty, Barcelona, they put us in this mess. Whatever it may be, if you're a serious organization, you have your list. You go and tick off your list as soon as possible. Bayern Munich, in and out of the transfer window. Boom, boom, gone. Dortmund, in and out of the transfer window. Real Madrid, in and out of the transfer window. They get their players, bish, bash, bosh, thank you very much. They don't mess about. They don't twiddle their thumbs in the window. And that's all. Every single window is the same thing. It is the same. Look, even now, Manchester United might have last minute signing in January window. Why last minute? Games are happening now. At this summer, you could say, okay, there's no games going on. Let's see. Right now, we have games going on. It took Arsenal 48 hours to sign 2 players in a January window. That is absurd. They chased someone. They had no link to Trossard. They went and failed Mudryk. They went and said, okay, who's the next? Trossard and this other guy. Let's go in 48 hours, sign, deal, seal, deliver, medical, done. Trossard is available for tomorrow as well. Imagine how quickly they did it.
I know.
It's a shame. It's such a shame. It
took us like 3 weeks to get Eriksen on a 3. And then when we sign a player, they're not available right away. Like, Chelsea get Felix and he plays 2 days later, and Chelsea get that wrapped up. And the thing that annoyed me is that maybe we've dodged the bullet with it, although I never thought he was right for Liverpool. But Gakpo went to Liverpool. We knew in November Ronaldo was gone. We knew since summer Ten Hag wanted this guy. There was personal terms agreed. Gakpo wanted the move. Gakpo likes Ten Hag. Ten Hag's always wanted the guy. We'd known for a while, and we just sat there and we were like, we're going to speak to Gakpo's agent, but we're not actually going to go and talk to PSV or do anything or give them any kind of money. And Liverpool go in, and within a couple of hours, he's at Liverpool. And, you know, a couple of hours, you know, Felix is at Chelsea, and Arsenal signed 2 people. United like to do this thing where they'll just be linked to a player for 2 months and then they'll make an effort to sign them. It's like, and as you said, we're costing ourselves more money. If we'd have got Anthony in June, we would have generally got him for half the price, and we could have had 40 million left to then maybe sign Gakpo on top of that, or whoever Ten Hag wanted. And then, as you said, we're in January. We're hearing that United might look at one more creative signing, which I doubt. I doubt we'll sign anyone else, and because we're very tight. But it's like, why don't we have a plan? Like, I know we're broke, but like, Ten Hag deserves better than a Besiktas Burnley player. Like, why is there no plan? Like, why have Arsenal missed out on someone they chased? 2 players they chased, Madrid and Felix, and they've gone and signed 2 players. Like, there's just like no plan or thinking behind it, and it really irritates me. And I really, really hope they're gone by the summer, because like, we know that Ten Hag wants a striker and a midfielder. He's made that clear, but I just know we'll be linked to Harry Kane in June, and we'll be signing him at the end of August after 8-9 weeks. I just can see it happening if we don't get new owners in, and that is what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with this ownership. Every day there's a new report and there's a new thing, and nobody seems to be wanting to come forward. Let's be honest. Who's going to want to pay 5 billion? Todd got Chelsea for cheap. Abramovich got Chelsea for cheap. The Newcastle owners got Newcastle for cheap. The City owners got City for cheap. Who's going to want to pay 5 billion? Everybody wants listen, it is an investment. Nobody loves Manchester United enough to just do everything perfect. It's all still business. You have to consider that as well. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see and pray that someone comes through. I just hope it's not someone who's investment related. You know what I mean? Because they'll just be the same thing with just new owners.
Yeah, or someone who's a partial sale who's going to go, or Glazers will stay and we'll give them some investment. I think that's the worst case scenario as well. But I think they've been trying to get.
I feel like that might happen. I feel like that one might happen. That investment might happen a bit more than new ownership. Who's going to want to take such big of a risk?
It's a scary one, but the Glazers have been looking for investment for like a few years now. We know that, really, and they haven't got it. So I'm like, is it time that they realise they've got to do the full sale? But it is a ridiculous price they're asking for. But Chelsea had a lot of offers. I think we will get a sale, but I'm also just scared that the Glazers are very much the type of people of, they're comfortable, and then they'll only sell it if they're going to get 5 billion. And is anyone capable of paying that? And that is what worries me. But lastly, what is your predictions ahead of the Arsenal game? Like, you got a score prediction, you got a feeling?
Yeah, I do. My score prediction is actually 2-1 Manchester United. I think we can nick a goal in the first half, and I think they might equalize, and then we'll go ahead and get the winner. And I think it'll be Rashford and maybe even Wout who gets the winning goal. And imagine if Wout gets the winning goal, the scenes would be absolutely amazing. But I think we can do it. I really do. The counter attack Manchester United possess is of extreme high caliber with Rashford in his form right now. This guy is the scariest winger forward in the league, if you ask me, and he's one of the best right now in form. People 100%. Are talking so much about Saka. People are talking so much about Martinelli and Saka, but I don't think they come close to Rashford at the moment. So yeah, I have to be optimistic. I have to believe in my manager. 2-1 Manchester United.
It's a weird one, because I will never like to bet against United. I never want to say that United are going to lose. If it's at Old Trafford, as I've said, I would back United. But when it's at Emirates, I always think, oh, this is Arsenal's game. But I think I think us dropping points to Palace might make us better going into this game. It might give us a kick up the arse. We've got to I always find when we drop points on the 10 out, the next game we respond. And I think, we are the underdogs, so maybe they might feel a bit less pressure in that sense. This is like a big game for Arsenal. It's a difficult one, because I think this game has 2-1 Arsenal or draw written all over it. But I really want United to win. I think the thing is, I think Scott McTominay will play. And we see Scott McTominay have about 8 stinkers in a row, and then he'll just put in a 10 out of 10 performance, and you're like, what? Like, we've seen him do it against like Southampton, Leeds, even Spurs. We beat the 3-0 in the half. Like, McTominay will have like 8-9 stinkers in a row, then he'll put in a 10 out of 10 performance. And I need this to be one of those games where if McTominay plays, he puts in that McTominay once in a blue moon performance where he just dominates. I think that is how we win. I think if we had Casemiro, I'd back us. But I back Ten Hag. I think, we beat Arsenal last time without Casemiro, although they didn't have Thomas Partey. We did beat them. I think that Ten Hag's been fantastic in the big games. He's beat Pep, Conte, Arteta, Klopp. I trust Ten Hag in the big games. Like, I trust his tactics. I trust his decisions. And because I trust Ten Hag, I'm going to say a draw, but I'm really hoping that we win, and then we get a really jammy goal just to win the game. Like something like a VAR should have ruled it out and it gets given, just to annoy Arsenal fans.
Yeah, you just well, listen. They said that we were gonna get fed to the lions after the Brentford game and etc. When we went to play Liverpool, right? They said after the
Yeah,
Brighton and Brentford game, oh, Malacia versus Salah, this is a no match. Who's this guy? He's gonna get murdered by
yeah,
Salah. And look what happened. Look what happened. Klopp couldn't believe, and he's not been the same since. They said the same thing when we faced Arsenal at home. They said it's not gonna be a game. They said the same thing about Newcastle coming to Old Trafford. They've doubted us all season, and we've proved again and again and again. Even Man City coming to play us, they said, "Oh, Man City just lost a game. Pep is very, very scary. When he loses a game, he does things with his players where they will turn up for him." Nothing. They didn't even do anything at Old Trafford. And I know this game
yeah,
isn't at Old Trafford, but I still think Eric more than anything, it kind of leaves a weird question mark with Casemiro not being there. If Casemiro was there, everybody would have been like, yeah, we know what the job is. We know what we're going to do. You know what the lineup is. Boom, boom, boom. But now that Casemiro's not there, it leaves things in a bit more of a,
harder
a
to
gray
predict.
cloud over it. And you don't know what Arteta's thinking. He doesn't know what Ten Hag has got cooking as well. If Casemiro's here, guarantee Casemiro's going to start. But now that he's not here, even Arteta might think, well, is he going to flood the midfield or is he going to stick to his guns and play Anthony? What has he got planned? Is he going to try and play football and bring the game to us and pin us back with Val? Is he going to try loads of aerial threat? What is he going to do? So we'll find out. Huge game tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a solid point to be fair, because it's harder for Arteta to maybe predict. And as you said, like we'd lost 4-0 to Brentford, and everyone thought going into the Liverpool game we were going to get battered. Like there was
Yep.
no the confidence, and Ten Hag pulled it out of the bag. We didn't have Casemiro then; we were announcing him, but we didn't have him playing. You know, everyone's kind of favouring Arsenal because of the way they're playing, because they're at home, because we don't have Casemiro, because they have party this game. But you know, Ten Hag likes being an underdog. Whenever Ten Hag's an underdog,
Yep.
he does deliver. So I have strong belief that Erik Ten Hag will do something, and I don't think we're going to get battered. There's people saying, oh, they're going to lose 4-0. I think it's going to be a tight game, and I actually think it might come down to actually who takes that chance. If Rashford's there and he misses 2 good opportunities, that might be the difference. Because you know, in the first half versus City, I was like, we should
Yeah.
be 1-0 up, and when Grealish scored, I was like, oh, if only we were 1-0 up. Obviously, we won that, but yeah, definitely. But
Yeah,
anyway,
we will
I'll
make chances. We will make chances. We just have to take them when they come.
100%. But anyway, I wanted to thank you for coming onto the channel today. I wanted you to introduce yourself to everybody watching and just let them know where they can find you on socials.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and hopefully you can come on my channel too at some point. But my channel's just Planet Faz. I do a lot of Manchester United content. I go to in 2022, I went to every Man United game. I didn't skip one, and that's men's, women's, and youth game. And I plan to do the same this season. So long season ahead. But yeah, just Planet Faz. You can find me on all social media platforms the same way. But thank you so much for having me. It's been really lovely to speak to you.
Appreciate it. Thanks everyone for tuning into today's show. Make sure you do hit that like button, and of course subscribe down below if you're new. And of course check out Faz's channel. He goes to all the games. He gets a lot of footage from games and extra things that we don't see on his channel. So definitely check it out. And I will be back tomorrow, people, for a watch along versus Arsenal. So see you then, and bye.